Hello, and welcome to Weaving Magic, also known as Dream Weaving. Now, I've chosen these names because when weaving, when crafting, whether it's crocheting or knitting and things like that, we're actually um, go into a very beautiful, deep, altered state, like a meditative state. And there are different ways that we can then work with that deep relaxation space to set intentions for the work that we're doing, like weaving in our dreams, our visions, our prayers, our well wishes, even if it's just simply that sense and essence of love being poured into the work. um, these creations that we make can very easily become these incredible um, tokens and reminders and carriers of our visions, our dreams, our hopes and intentions, and all the rest of it. So I tend, being working with shamanism and tantric practice, I will often I know that I'm working what's called the invisible realm or the subtle realm, and weaving and on the different threads and fibers of life, for creation, manifestation, healing, love, all these different things. So what weaving represents to me is that doing it on the physical realm, but also it's working on the invisible realm. So I'd like to use this opportunity to work with Lesson 1, which is just setting you up for the basics, building blocks for basket weaving. And if you have done basket weaving before, this just might be a beautiful little refresher to have a look again, and maybe bring in some new things that you haven't done before with your basket weaving. So first of all, choosing your materials. Now I work mainly with the raffia. It's a Madagascan grass, easy to get hold of. Order online. I get it from a distributor in New South Wales, Sydney, just out of Sydney. And sometimes I go to the store direct or order it in, just depends on how much time I have. But you can also go and find things in nature and create amazing baskets and woven decorations out there. Inside this one is the like the off of the pine trees, that have those long needly things. I don't have any with me to show you right now, but the filler for the weave can be lots of different things that's flexible, but that can also hold a shape. Is really, really beautiful. Otherwise, we just use the raffia as a filling to then weave the basket around as well, which is really lovely. So for these beginner workshops, we work with the raffia just to learn the basics, just to get the skills. After that, go foraging, see what other things you can find, and you can then start to just use your imagination. And one of the things I love to do is actually tune into the material that I'm using, because quite often it knows what it wants to be before you do. And you can set an intention of what you'd like to create, and then work with the fibers and let them guide you. So I'll in a moment I'll be showing you a practice to do with how to connect with that as well. Okay, so choosing your weaving style. With this part, with the raffia, there's two types of coil weaving that I work with. So there's what's called the blanket stitch. So you have your filler in the middle, and then you weave with a needle that goes through the fiber to create what's called a blanket stitch, and you just bring those all together. So that can be actually different thicknesses as well. So if you have a look at this one, this is the filler of it is actually quite thin, and here you can see I've used some wool instead of the raffia around it. So that's kind of like the next level. We won't be doing that in the basic basket weaving magic course. We will I'll show you how to bring in these other threads and fibers and things to use as well, and you get some beautiful colors then coming in too, which is really beautiful. I really love this one. So there's different thicknesses. Actually, I'll show you the first basket I made, and of course, I had to go big or go home, and I can show you the different styles in here. Actually, is really good. So when I first started, I was shown this very fine weave, and when I first did this base, I thought I was actually going to make a computer bag. But as I continued on, I started realizing, I've got this drum that hasn't got a bag yet. So I started weaving up further. And as I'm going along, you can actually see that from these little thinner thread, filler cables, I've started to make them thicker and thicker. And then up here, I started to bring in another weave. So this is the second type of weave I wanted to explain. It's a wrapped coil weave, where you actually you get your filler cable, and you wrap thread around it. So I will of course show you all this properly in the training, but just sort of like giving you an idea. So you get your threads together, and then you get your other fiber, and you as you go along, you're actually wrapping it and building your basket that way. And so that's that one I find is probably firmer. I find that these baskets will actually hold their shape more firmly, whereas these ones, the basket weave type is, the blanket stitch type is a lot more flexible. You can move it around a lot more easily, whereas this one will tend to hold its shape a lot more. And then, with the handle, I was exploring and experimenting with some different things there. So in lesson 3 is when we start looking at handles and different shapes and different techniques and how to do all that. So, there's another sort of basket handle that I created there with a bit of a twist. This is a bit more of a weave, and this is a bit more of like a macrame stitch going through there as well. So all these sorts of things we can have a look at. Oh, yeah, and this is the drum that needed the home, so that just fits beautifully in there. And then I just carry that over my shoulder, which is great. So there'll be 2 different tutorials. So if you want to choose the coil weave basket, there'll be a separate lesson 2 plan for that one. And if you want to choose more of the basket weave style, blanket stitch basket weave, you'll be able to, there'll be a separate tutorial for that one as well. This is just an example of something else I made, which can be quite quick. It's one of the blanket stitch styles, and I just got the glass of a tea light candle, a votive candle holder, and created a shape that was going to fit around the outside. So when you have the candle inside, it actually, the light that comes through here, because I made sure that I made enough little gaps in between, creates a beautiful pattern on the wall and things like that. Right, so in lesson 3 we'll also look at how we finish off the work, but I just wanted to show you this as an example so you can see I've made a nice clean finish there. But this one I thought I'd do something different, and I actually, rather than finishing off and wrapping and weaving it in, I left this loose because I thought it might be a lovely style to just put something in there, like a little basket. There's little straw bits in there, so that could look nice with Easter eggs, or I was going to say yoni eggs. You're probably going to make a lid for that then if you're going to do that. Um, yeah, just, you know, just giving it a different style and different shape. There's also things as you get more advanced, you know, different ways that you can shape the edges and the baskets. And, you know, this one for me is one of my Dreamweaver talismans, or magic pieces that I use. So, you know, I can hang that up, and, you know, if I wanted, I could add feathers or beads or anything like that. But that, you know, that's holding and carrying some magic for me, some intentions. So, you know, whenever I see that, I'm receiving that information and those messages and those blessings. Or if I touch it, some people think it's a great like tea trivet. You can put your teapot on it or something. So, you know, there's also, doesn't always have to be a basket. You know, there's lots of different things that you can create, which is really beautiful. So choosing your basket style or shape, what you want to create. So there's, you know, you can make circles, you can make sort of more oval shapes, or more, you know, like these longer shapes. If you want to make a basket that's longer, like this, um, you can have straight sides, or you can create more of a curved basket. You know, you can experiment and explore with, you know, curves and straights and fanning out, fanning in, all different things there. So again, I can show you that in lesson 2, but just kind of get a sense of like the basket shape and style that you would like. Okay, where to source the materials. So I will create a link for you to find. Where I get these from is a company called Koch & Co. They're based in New South Wales, so they deliver. So if you're elsewhere in Australia, you could certainly, you know, order that online and deliver. I like to get the big 1 kilo batch, which is like, this is only about 1/10 of of the kilo. I don't have a full kilo batch with me, but I'll put in a photo of what that can look like, and that will be plenty. Like, you know, a kilo didn't even, like, I still had heaps left when making this particular basket. So, but don't worry, if you get a kilo, I know that you'll love it so much that you'll just want to keep crafting and making things, definitely. But otherwise, you know, you can certainly get smaller batches of, you can get them in the natural color, you can get them in dyed colors. Um, and the smaller ones, you'll find they're actually more expensive. So getting a kilo bunch, you know, is going to be a lot more cost effective in the long run. Just want to talk about colors. I'll show you a little bit colors now. So this is a pre-dyed. So this is a raffia that has been factory dyed. You can see that beautiful yellow color there. But you may actually prefer and want to create your own natural dyes. So this one was made with beetroot, which gives a beautiful pink color to it. See the difference there from the natural. And this one here is actually turmeric. So oh my gosh, it comes in such a rich gold color. So you really got to love this yellow gold color. Another way, if you wanted a bit more yellow but not as bright, you could do turmeric and tea or coffee, and that will help to just tone it down a little bit. But you can see the difference. I think you can see the difference between the factory yellow and then this beautiful golden turmeric yellow, which on screen actually isn't being done justice to, but it's delicious. So, you know, you can just kind of, I just have a look online and just look up natural dyes, you know, plants to use for natural dyes. Use blueberry, your coffee, your tea, all sorts of amazing things out there that you can use. I actually find if you're growing turmeric, the turmeric leaves themselves can make they can infuse a beautiful yellow color. And you can even, you know, once they're dried or starting to dry, you could even start to weave those beautiful turmeric leaves in as well. They tend to dry just sort of more this natural color. They don't dry the yellow, but you know, again, if you're working with plant medicine, you know, working with more that shamanic side of things, you can find that the essence or the energy of that beautiful turmeric plant can also be weaved in to work with the magic of your basket weave. Yeah, so let me just think. So shape, we think about shape, color. We will work just with plain raffia to begin with. I may do a demonstration in lesson 3 of how to weave in other colors, but it's definitely more phase 2 of basket weaving, so like more of an intermediate style of where we would then bring in some colors for you. Okay, so your kit list. Well, obviously raffia, that's important. And we use these sort of like tapestry needles or darning needles, and there's a few different ones you can get. So these plastic ones I got off of eBay. I mean, I don't particularly like plastic, but I find that when I'm doing live classes, these are a good needle for people to begin with. And there's different thicknesses that you can get, but they will snap after a little while. They are not long living. I'm probably not going to get plastic ones anymore, but just like they are an option for some people. So the ones that I prefer to get is, I actually got this from Spotlight, and I'll write the name of this down, of course, somewhere else. I think that is that in reverse. And these are beautiful tapestry needles, size 13, and they have a beautiful like round. It's not a point, like a sharp point, like a regular needle. There is a little point, obviously, but you know, it's got a nice big eye for the raffia to thread through, and a good blunt point to be able to go through the material that you're using and you're weaving. So that is really lovely. And then, you know, just for something a little different, I also got these off of eBay. These are aluminium and red, again with a nice big eye, and these have an interesting little sort of bend in them just to help you to, you know, hook through and weave through, particularly if you're working with a more different curve shapes and things like that. That sort of thing can be very helpful. But otherwise, just go down to your local haberdashery store or craft store and look for large tapestry hook needles. I'm finding the number size 13 works really well with birch. So you've got your raffia, you've got your needle, and you need some scissors. A pot of tea is always really nice to have with you. I like to keep, you know, crystals around with me. And, you know, so we'll look at how to set up sacred space for when you're creating your beautiful basket. So you might like to smudge the room. You may like to burn candles, just whatever it is that kind of helps you to just feel relaxed, to create a sacred space. This is your time of meditation, creation, building, dropping into a deeper essence of yourself, connecting to the invisible realms as well as the physical realms at the same time. Such an enriching, beautiful process. So, you know, I do really recommend taking a bit of time to set up the space that you're going to work in, whether it's indoors or outdoors, with friends or on your own. Just spend that time, and I'll, you know, have a list for you to look at all these different options as well.